Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Hello if you are new. If you are a returning subscriber, you get like an extra hello, like a hello times 2. We are going to be reviewing the Colourpop No Filter foundation. This is a foundation that absolutely blew up the internet. It's so great that an affordable brand like Colourpop can come up with a foundation and can have a product that is, you know, accessible on the market, because not everybody has the budget to be able to afford the more high-end or luxury foundation. So I think it's a really great step that Colourpop has done this. If we go into the specifics of this foundation, the Colourpop website says that it's a foundation that's built for the selfie age. It's a buildable full coverage natural matte foundation that delivers flawless looking skin from day to night. The oil-free lightweight formula blends smoothly and is easily customizable to create the coverage you want. The foundation retails for $12 on the Colourpop website. The packaging is pretty much like this. If you haven't seen it, I'm pretty sure the majority of people have seen it. It's actually glass packaging and it has a twist pump which you can actually lock to keep your foundation safe inside. If you are enjoying this video so far, do not forget to subscribe to my channel, and without further ado, let's get into the review. I'm using the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Foundation, just so you guys know. If you guys are a fan of this, if you want to see if it works together before you go ahead and buy it, that's the purpose of this. And also, I think I've made this quite clear on my channel. Sometimes when I'm reviewing new foundations, I don't like to use anything that I know is already quite mattifying or changes the texture a lot. I want to use something like this that kind of allows you to see, you know, whether the foundation looks good or not. So I think this is a really good primer to test this, because it's not too like mattifying and it's not one of those that's like super pore refining. So you'll be able to actually tell what the foundation looks like quite easy. So now that I've done my color correcting, we are ready to apply the foundation. Before we go ahead and do that, I feel like I should let you guys know, especially if you are new to my channel, what I like in foundations, what I like to see, so that obviously I can go back to my criteria and kind of use that to see if the foundation works for me. I think that's the best way to do it for me. So let's get on to shade. Like I said, they have 40 shades in the foundation, 42. I am in the shade Dark 180. Now this is one that I actually matched online based on a few YouTubers that I watch, and also based on the actual Colourpop website. They have said the equivalent of this Dark 180 shade in their foundation is equivalent to Fenty 420. Now I use Fenty 420. It's a really good shade match, so hopefully it matches. I am a tiny bit tanned. I think most of my tan has worn off, because since I've been back, I've tried to like gently just exfoliate my skin to get it back to my original skin color, so that I'd be able to do this review, because I've been dying to wear this foundation for a while now. I actually have the Colourpop large foundation brush. They actually gave it if you bought like a foundation on the day of release or something like that on the next day. I'm actually just going to kind of test out the color match and see, you know, if it's a bit crazy. Regardless of if it's looking crazy or not, I don't have another shade, so I'm just going to make it work. I literally just want to test the foundation out to see the formula. Can we just go back to the fact that I said I was going to give you my criteria and then I just moved on? I'm looking for number 1, oil control. Now on an average day, I wear my foundation for about 8 to 10 hours. So I am going to try to wear this foundation for about 8 hours to also test that out. Number 2, I'm looking for buildability. I'm looking for something that ideally you can build on and make it more full coverage without it looking crazy. And then number 3, the overall finish is quite important for me. I like the texture of my skin looking quite smooth. I work really hard to get my skin looking good, so I don't need my foundation making me look loco in these streets. Crazy. So just from the first application there, I can tell if we look at the match to my neck, it's pretty much accurate. I'm not sure what you guys are seeing on the actual camera, but it seems like it's pulling a little red and almost a tiny bit grey as well, which tells me that maybe it is a tiny bit too light and maybe my skin is a tiny bit too dark, but we are going to make this work. I feel like just that one pump has covered quite a fair amount. Now the fact that I've used one pump and it's pretty much covered my face and my whole neck area tells me I might need around 3 or 4 pumps in its entirety to cover my face. I always like telling you guys stuff like that in reviews, because it's important to know if there's a foundation that you're going to need 5 or 6 pumps of, because you know that that's a foundation that you're going to have to kind of refill regularly. And I feel like with this foundation, the fact that it's $12, I would not mind like repurchasing this on a more frequent occasion, more frequent time frame. If it makes the cut, of course. Now we're going to actually go ahead and do the whole application of the face. For the purpose of this review, I'm going to do one side with this brush just because it was free and why not, and I'm going to do one side with the beauty blender. I kind of want to see if the brush is going to give me a full coverage look or if I'm going to lean more towards the beauty blender side for that full coverage. Only time will tell. So I've got 1 pump, 1.5. That's a good 3 pumps that I've put on there. I'm going to attempt to use 3 pumps to cover my whole face. We're going to stop at 3 and then we're going to see what this skin looks like. One thing I will say is it's definitely pulling quite orange. I think when it sits in your skin, it will definitely blend into your skin tone, because if you look at the bit that I've already blended in, it looks quite close to my skin tone, and then when it kind of sits on your skin, it definitely does look quite light. So I'm not going to say that this foundation oxidizes. I just think when it gets more used to your skin tone, it will definitely just sit a little bit easier on the skin. It will definitely look a bit more natural. Beauty blender side now. One thing that is weird is for me, the beauty blender is definitely shearing it out a bit more than the brush. Maybe I'll end up liking this kind of finish, maybe not. Okay, so I just went in with 1 more pump because that didn't seem like it was enough. This is 3 pumps in its entirety using the brush and then the beauty blender, and I've just gone in with 1 more pump to just get that little bit more of coverage. In my mirror, I don't feel like there's enough coverage. When I look at my monitor, looks okay. But I just wanted to show you guys the difference between the brush side and the difference between the beauty blender side. I definitely feel like this is not the best brush if you're trying to blend it out. I feel like for the initial application of the foundation, you could definitely use this to dot it on. If I were you, I'd go with the beauty blender afterwards to blend the whole thing out. But I definitely feel like the beauty blender side has shit it out a little bit. For me, means that I'll have to go in with a tiny bit more because I like a tiny bit more fuller coverage than this. I definitely feel like I have some darkness on my nose, if you guys can see there, and some pigmentation just there, which I feel like is not crazy highlighted, but I feel like for me personally, I can see it in this mirror here, and I feel like that's because all these lights will naturally just make my skin look a lot better, like through the camera, but obviously in real life. So again, this is the brush side and this is the beauty blender side. By no means am I going to stay like this. I literally just wanted to show you guys what their actual brush does. I'm not saying I would not recommend this brush, but I would say that you definitely would need to go in with something after you use this one. So if you're thinking about buying this, maybe just save yourself the hassle and just get like a brush like this, a face buffer brush. This is from Makeup Geek. This is like my absolute favorite brush. Maybe what I would do actually is use this to buff it in on this side, and then I will use the beauty blender to buff it in on the other side. Oh my god, I'm so smart. So let's start with buffing out the foundation on this side. Oh no, it's definitely moving the foundation. Did you guys see how that's moved? Okay. So this is the brush side done. I have to say I really do like the look of it. Could do with a little bit more coverage because I'm the full coverage queen. I really do like the way it looks. I think on the monitor it does look a lot better for me than in real life, but at the end of the day we all live through Instagram and through YouTube anyway, so I don't exist in real life. Like if you see me on the road and I'm not looking like perfect or as close to perfection as I am, just walk away in the other direction, just pretend it didn't happen. It's also called a demi matte finish as well, or natural matte, soft matte finish. Yeah, they've kind of used those kind of words to describe it, and I would say they're accurate. It doesn't look cakey at all. My skin looks healthy. I think it looks full of life. Again, in terms of coverage, maybe I will layer up just a bit for the sake of the review so that you guys can see whether it's buildable or not, but I do like the way it's looking now. If I were to compare, I feel like this side it definitely looks a lot more full coverage, and this side it definitely looks a lot more sheer. I feel like you can definitely see more of my imperfection shining through on this side as opposed to this one. And I feel like because this is quite a runny foundation, naturally your beauty blender will soak up quite a lot of it. If we're just going off first impressions in terms of the texture and everything, I definitely would say that it is close to the Fenty foundation in the sense that it is quite runny. Let's actually compare the shades so I can see how close it is in shades. Now they both have the glass bottles. The Colourpop one actually does look a bit more darker. It's pulling a tiny bit of a pink tone to me as well. And then for me, the Fenty one looks a tiny bit more golden in the bottle. But looks are deceiving. They have been before. They probably will be today. So if we compare, the top one here is the Colourpop foundation in the shade Dark 180, and then the one on the bottom here is the Fenty 420. I definitely understand what they were going for when they use this as a comparison, but I would say for me, the Colourpop one is pulling a tiny bit more of like a Like it's got a tiny bit of a pink undertone. I don't know if you can actually see that in my skin now. I feel like I can see it on the camera now that it's dry a little bit. And it's also giving me a bit more of a kind of orangey undertone, whereas it's quite obvious that the Fenty one is a bit more golden. So for me, just off looking at it here, I think that the Fenty one is a lot more of a better match for me. What I'll do is I'll actually put a clip of my Fenty foundation review here so that you can see the foundation when I first put it on, and then you can compare my skin complexion in the two. For the sake of the review and to make it as realistic as possible in terms of how much foundation I'd wear on a daily basis, I am going to go in with one more pump, both on the brush side and the beauty blender side. So that's one pump of that. And we're going to apply just a dab of it with the brush to give me a little bit more coverage on this side. And then at the beauty blender side, just here with a little bit more coverage, especially around the cheek area. But just from what I'm seeing now, if I show you guys, I'm liking the brush side a lot more than the beauty blender side. I just feel like my beauty blender is soaking up quite a lot of the product. For me, this is sometimes the problem with these runny foundations. But also when you're on the go, I like just being able to use my beauty blender for my foundation, my concealer. I don't want to go into my brushes and grab a brush to, you know, it's just easier for me. But if this is a foundation I like, I would definitely be willing, remember she said this, I would definitely be willing to go in with a brush. Now what I usually do in my routine is I go ahead and I set my foundation. This is just a technique that I use. It's what I find helps, especially when I had more oily skin. It definitely helped to keep the oils at bay. But this is the No Filter setting powder. I have it in this shade translucent here. So I've just filled a tiny bit in my cap. I'm going to go ahead with my powder brush and set my face. Oh, it feels super smooth on the skin. You cannot even feel it on the skin. Oh. Currently the time is 1:30 p.m. UK time. I'm going to aim to have this foundation on for 8 hours. I've had it on for about 10 minutes so far, so far so good. It doesn't seem to be creasing anywhere really crazy. Texture of the skin doesn't look too bad at all. I feel like once I put my makeup on, it's actually going to start to look nicer and my natural oils are going to start to come through. But so far I am impressed. I'm going to just use my Colourpop No Filter Concealer so that we can use the under eye powder so that you guys can see what that looks like, because I'm super excited. So now we're going to use the No Filter setting powder in the shade Banana. The only gripe I will say with this, even before trying it, unfortunately I have to hate on it from the jump, is just the fact that it's a loose powder. I'm not really a fan of using loose powders to set my under eyes just because I feel like they're a bit more messy. I'm not going to say that that kind of puts it in a negative light already, but obviously I have to think of my routine and what realistically I will use. So only if this powder is stupendously, incredibly amazing will I probably grab for it, because I don't really grab for a lot of my under eye powders that are loose, except for the Beauty Bakery one, because I absolutely love that powder. So I'm going to blend my concealer out. Let's see how the concealer is blended on the top. Yep, not too much of a problem. So the concealer blended really easily on top. I feel like the No Filter concealer and the No Filter foundation actually work quite nicely together. It's kind of just gliding on, which is something I really like. So let's now go in with the powder. I'm going to just put a tiny bit in my cap, not too much because I don't know how much I will actually need. Now we're just going to go in with this Morphe E48. I'm going to tap it and you guys can see how much I'm going to put on. I don't like to put too much powder on my under eyes at all, because obviously that's what makes them cakey. So just our first impressions for me, it's looking a tiny bit dry. Let's zoom you guys on in. It's looking a tiny bit dry, but I've had powders that I use that do look dry on first application, and then once you kind of use your setting sprays, they kind of just get a bit more oil in them and just look a bit more lifelike as opposed to cake-like, corpse-like. I finished everything that I had in a cap and it managed to cover all my highlighted areas. For me, this would not be enough coverage for me. I know that on the monitor, I just took a look, it does look a bit more seamless and kind of blended, but it definitely looks a tiny bit more patchy in real life. Can the powder actually sit on top of the concealer without looking crazy? So this is what my skin looks like. I feel like I'm looking a little bit grey around this area. I don't know why. Don't know if that's lighting, or it definitely does not look like this in the flesh. Okay, so we have a full face done. We've used the foundation and we have used the two powders. So far it's looking good. It's not looking too crazy different from what my skin would normally look like when I have foundation on, which is good. The undertone has definitely warmed up a tiny bit, and for me it's a tiny bit more golden, but I mean, maybe throughout the day. I mean, it's looking a bit more ashy here, so I'm not sure. Maybe once I do my makeup, it will not look like that any longer, hopefully. I definitely feel like looking at my skin, it has sat and sank into the skin quite quickly. Sometimes I find that with some powders, it will look dry for about 10-15 minutes and then it will kind of just warm up and like loosen up a tiny bit. But this has definitely sunk into the skin very quickly. Within the time that I've applied it and the time that I've just been sitting here chatting shit, it's really just... So now I'm going to go ahead and apply the rest of my makeup. When I'm done, I will show you what my face actually looks like. If I'm putting on my makeup, doing anything and anything looks crazy, I will pop on the camera and let you guys know. But if nothing happens between then and now, expect to see me when I've got a full face of makeup on. XOXO Gossip Girl. Hi bitches, I'm back. Bet you didn't expect to see me again. The one thing I just wanted to point out to you guys, the little sifters, these bitches is tiny. Like, you have to work to get the powder out. Which could work if you are a little heavy-handed, you know, heavy-heaver. For someone who likes to cake the powder on and I just want to have some powder there to be able to, you know, do my moustache, I'm finding it a little bit difficult. But that's me being nitpicky and just having to, like, point out to you guys, you know, every little thing I notice. Hi everybody, she is back from her international tour of the Balearic Islands. Back just to give you the rest of this review. This is my face with the makeup done. Honestly, I really like it. I really like it. I really like the way this looks. I think, you know, I could definitely make this work. I'm definitely interested in seeing how this foundation performs throughout the day. Am I going to get oily? Are we going to get creasy? Are we going to have the spots on show? Is that what we're going to do? Stay tuned to find out. It is now 14:17 and I believe I would have had this makeup on, well, not this makeup, I've had this makeup on for about 3 minutes, but I've had this foundation on for about an hour so far. So we've done 1 hour and we've got 7 more hours to go to test this foundation. But just from what I'm getting so far, this is a really juicy foundation. This is going to be a really juicy review. It's going to be a really juicy day because this is looking nice. I'm looking thick, like I've put on a couple 5-10 pounds, especially in the neck region. I mean, if you notice it too, don't leave a comment down below. I mean, that would really help my life. No, I'm kidding. I want to put on weight. I want to put this little bit of eyelash glue here. It's pissing me off. I'm very excited to feedback the results of this review for you guys. I will pop in throughout the day if I do notice anything that I feel, you know, warrants a conversation with you guys, that warrants a check-in. But other than that, I might see you guys in 7 hours from now. We are back, live and in demand. It's been a rough few hours. It's not coming home. England out of the World Cup. Got no lip gloss on. My lashes are off. Hoops out. It's been a rough day. It is now 22:16, about to be 22:17. Now I left the last review at 14:17. And so in total, that would mean that I've had this foundation on for approximately 9 hours. I feel like that's a really great time to give you guys a good, like, round off, like, review of the foundation. I have not looked at my face not once today, purely just because as soon as I finished filming, headed downstairs, I ate some lunch, I was getting some work done, and I've just been watching the game and crying my eyes out. Not really, but yeah. So literally, this is my first time seeing what this looks like. And I am surprised a tiny bit, just because I hoped it would be a tiny bit better at oil control. I don't think it's horrendous at all. I feel like if I would have touched up at a midway point between, you know, the 9 hours, it would have looked a bit better. But I'm just surprised that I've collected a little bit of oil in, you know, these kind of T-zone areas. I think makeup stayed on, it stayed quite true to the colour. I think everything does look a little bit faded, but I think that just happens. I've been wearing it for 9 hours. I think the only thing I've noticed is the oil there, to be honest. I don't think my skin looks bad at all. I've got loads of tiny bumps that I've been suffering with for a tiny bit now. I don't think they look too crazy at all. Nothing too different from what I've, you know, been seeing for the past few days. There is some crease in here, so I think I just have to figure out how to kind of maneuver around that. It does look like the foundation has dissipated a tiny bit more around my mouth. I'd be interested to see if I could wear this and just set it a tiny bit more. But apart from the obvious oil around the T-zone and the creasing, I think overall I give this foundation an A+. I think it's a really good valiant effort, from the shade range to the actual formula. I think with the undertones they could do some work, like I said, because I think I made this work in the end, but maybe if I wasn't somebody who was as, I wouldn't say advanced with makeup, but as like experienced with makeup in the way that I am, maybe I would not know how to make the undertone work for me. So I think it will be a bit of a challenge for people who are maybe trying it that maybe don't know how to kind of, you know, work with a foundation that doesn't work. I've had plenty of experience of that. So I think they could do some work to fix the undertones. But to be honest, I have not seen a lot of people complaining about that. I think that's something that I'm just super extra picky about, because I love my golden undertones and I just want them to shine out. I know what my skin looks like at its best. I really have like a good batch of foundations that I use that really make my skin tone look really lovely. Not saying that this does not look lovely. I think at first I just thought I looked a bit more on like the pinky side. It was looking a little bit ashy. I don't know what was going on there. I think it just needed to warm up. And I think now it's definitely warmed up. It definitely is more of a golden undertone as well, which I'm quite pleasantly surprised with. Out of 5, if we were rating this foundation, I would definitely give this foundation a 4 out of 5. I would definitely recommend you to buy it from the price point, the shade range. I would say the only thing that kind of sucks is the availability. Obviously with Colourpop, it's only available in the US for a lot of people, and then if you're on international shipping, there is like quite a few fees and whatnot attached to it, so it's quite hard to sometimes get Colourpop. I find my ways. It doesn't actually feel oily or greasy at all. It actually does feel quite matte. I'd want something a little bit more matte. If this was like matte factor like 7, I'd want it to like an 8.5. That would really make this foundation like a good solid 4.5 for me. But I'm definitely give this foundation a solid 4. If you want to go ahead and try this foundation, I would most definitely recommend it. Overall, I do not have a ton of negative things to say. I think this is a really solid product offering, and I think that Colourpop are really doing a great job at the moment. I'd encourage you guys to go ahead and buy it. It looks really good. If you guys have had some experience with this foundation, if any of you guys have tried it out and looking to try it out, please leave some comments down below so you can help out other people who also might want to try it out if you have. Let's get the conversation going as usual. Let's just have a chat. Let's see what people are saying about this foundation, because to be honest, I've watched a few reviews but don't really know, you know, if too many. I've seen some YouTubers trying it, but I haven't actually seen the consumers trying it and what they have to say yet. So I'd really be interested to see what you guys have to say if you've tried it, of course. If you guys have enjoyed this video, if you guys have enjoyed this review, please give this video a thumbs up, drop a comment down below. So to conclude this video, I'd like to say thank you again guys for watching. Do not forget to connect with me on social media, on my Instagram and my Twitter. Until then, I shall see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. If you have made it to the end and you're not subscribed, subscribe. Bye. England. England. Oh no, it's the clap first. England. No, is it? I don't know. England.